Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're stepping right into an ancient arena. I want you to picture those sweeping cinematic drone shots over the hills of Saxony, zooming in on a motorsport coliseum where the physical and mental demands are, quite frankly, just brutal. We are at the 2026 German Grand Prix at the Sachsenring. The stage is perfectly set for a veteran warrior, a true titan of the sport, returning to his fortress to face the crushing weight of expectation and a grid packed full of hungry challengers desperate to dethrone him.
Now, to really grasp the sheer terror of this battleground, you gotta listen to Piero Tarmasso. He's the head of competition over at Michelin, and he puts it pretty bluntly. He says that alongside Phillip Island, the Sachsenring is one of the two most difficult circuits of the entire season for tires. It is a punishing, unrelenting beast of a track that will chew up machinery and spit out anyone who isn't perfectly prepared.
Chapter 1. Return to the Fortress. A record crowd awaits the king. Over 261,000 fans packed the hillsides across the weekend, and man, the atmosphere was just vibrating with electric tension. They were all there to witness a clash of gladiators.
Think about the brutal layout of this absolute beast. 10 left turns, just 3 right turns. Imagine the riders perpetually leaning left across just 3.6 kilometers of asphalt. In a total of 13 curves, they are almost never upright. This extremely specific configuration demands absolutely everything from the guys on the grid, putting this immense, continuous strain on just one side of the motorcycle.
Which brings us to our next section, Armor for the Arena, featuring Michelin's asymmetrical weapons. Because to survive a battlefield like this, standard equipment simply isn't going to cut it. To counter that insane 10-to-3 turn ratio we just talked about, Michelin literally had to forge highly specialized asymmetrical tires. These are custom engineered with a reinforced, much harder tread exclusively on the left side. Honestly, if they used standard rubber, the continuous stress of that unilateral cornering would melt the tires away. It's custom-made armor, forged basically just to keep the riders alive through that constant barrage of left-hand curves.
Moving on to Chapter 3, a tactical masterstroke, or the cunning of a veteran. So with the armor equipped, the opening skirmish kicked off on Saturday for qualifying, and this is where Marc Márquez really showcased his power.
Physical speed wins battles, sure, but tactical brilliance? That wins wars. Márquez evaluates the soft front tire and realizes it's got exactly one good lap in it before the grip completely falls off a cliff. So actually, scratch that. He completely abandons the standard 2-run setup that literally the rest of the grid relies on. Instead, he totally shocks his own team by demanding a surgical 3-run time attack. He goes out, fires one bullet, pits. Goes out, fires another. And the result? He catches his rivals entirely off guard and secures pole position with a blistering all-time lap record of 1 minute and 19.041 seconds. Absolutely unreal.
Section 4. Challengers fall in battle as the war of attrition begins. Because while qualifying sets the grid, Sunday is the main event.
Márquez launches from pole position, immediately seizes the lead into turn 1 and fiercely dictates the pace, which left everyone asking the most tense question of the entire weekend: who could actually withstand the relentless pressure of the king? When Márquez is setting flawless, machine-like lap times at the front, the riders behind him have to push their bikes deep into the danger zone just to keep him in their sights.
And you know what? That pressure violently cracked the grid. Lap 3, turn 10. Fabio Di Giannantonio loses the front end, crashing right out of a fierce podium fight and suffering his very first DNF of the season. Then, just 7 laps later on lap 10, the king's own brother, sprint runner-up Alex Marquez, tumbles out of a highly comfortable second place at turn 13. The pure desperation to match that flawless pace at the front proved to be a fatal trap for the contenders.
But amidst the wreckage of fallen Ducatis, we saw some true resilience emerge. The Superfile Trackhouse Aprilias actually survived the chaos. Ayo Ogura and Raul Fernandez navigated the intense pressure just brilliantly. Ogura makes a decisive pass on his teammate at turn 1 and pulls clear to claim second place. By the way, that's his 3rd consecutive Sunday podio, while Fernandez follows him home to secure a spectacular double podium for the American squad. They survived the arena.
Chapter 5. The Immortals of Sachsenring. Etching a name in history. Out front, totally untouchable and operating on a completely different plane of existence, was Marc Márquez.
He crossed the finish line a full 1.996 seconds clear, completing a flawless lights-to-flag victory and sweeping both the sprint and the Grand Prix. 10. Just let that number sink in for a second. With this victory, Márquez matched Giacomo Agostini's ancient legendary record for the most premier class victories at a single circuit. It's a literal monument to his absolute mastery over this specific piece of German asphalt. Just take a moment to really absorb this conqueror's legacy. We are talking 13 total wins at the Sachsenring, across all racing classes. It marks his 102nd career victory overall and his 76th success in the premier MotoGP class. He didn't just defend his fortress, he reminded the entire world why his name is permanently etched in stone at this circuit.
Which brings us to our final section, the war reignited as a four-way battle emerges. Because this explainer isn't just about one isolated race, right? It's about the wider war. And this historic victory dramatically shifted the entire landscape of the 2026 World Championship.
It's wild just how violently compressed this championship table has become heading into the summer break. I mean, just weeks ago, Márquez was written off, nearly 100 points adrift. Now, he slashed his deficit down to a mere 18 points. Jorge Martin still leads with 208 points, but Ayo Ogura is breathing right down his neck at -14. Márquez is right there at -18, and Marco Bezzecchi, even though he missed this race due to injury, is hovering right there at -22. Just 24 points cover the top 4 riders.
And you could literally feel the psychological shockwave rippling through the paddock. Championship leader Jorge Martin walked away from Germany and flat out confessed to the press, "I'm not the favorite, Marcus." That right there is the ultimate mind game. That is the sheer aura of a champion returning to peak form and striking fear straight into the hearts of his rivals. So that leaves us here. A title race that, let's be honest, pretty much everyone thought was a 2-horse contest a month ago is now a full-blown 4-way war. The momentum has shifted completely. With the king restored to power, defending his fortress flawlessly, and the championship blown totally wide open, who is actually going to survive the grueling second half of the 2026 season? It's gearing up to be a completely cinematic finish, and I cannot wait to see how it unfolds. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep your eyes on the grid.